A revolutionary aspect of the Permanent Forum is that both state-nominated and indigenous-nominated experts sit alongside each other in the deliberations. Traditionally, the UN has been a forum reserved only for states or state-nominated experts. Secondly, the process allows indigenous peoples to highlight issues that exist in their countries and affect their lives, as well as make policy recommendations on how to address many challenges. These recommendations eventually transform themselves into policy recommendations of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. In other words, the Permanent Forum carries the voices of indigenous peoples into international policy making. To whom are policy recommendations addressed? As in other areas of international relations, the interpretation of a mandate and the practice of international bodies are of crucial significance. In other words, there is room for creativity and advocacy in the practical implementation of an international mandate, such as that of the Permanent Forum. 1. According to Resolution 2000/22 of the Economic and Social Council, the Forum is to provide advice to the UN system through the Council. The Forum emits many recommendations annually to the UN agencies and to the Economic and Social Council. As the practice has developed, the Economic and Social Council does not have to approve each one of these, except 3 decisions of a procedural nature, namely on the venue, dates, and agenda of the subsequent annual session of the Forum, as well as the theme of the Forum's annual intersessional international expert group meeting. So the Forum's recommendations appear in its annual report and are transmitted to agencies by the Secretariat. Follow-up reports on action taken are requested by each agency. One of the major perennial recommendations of the Forum to agencies is for each UN agency to adopt an indigenous-specific policy based on the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and to designate a focal point on indigenous issues. Several agencies have already done so, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, is considered a good example in the UN system. The thrust of IFAD's policy and practice is the full and effective participation of indigenous peoples and respect for their free, prior, and informed consent. IFAD has also established an Indigenous Peoples Forum within it, composed of indigenous leaders that advise the organization on relevant programs. The global meeting of the International Peoples Forum at IFAD convenes every 2nd February in connection with the Governing Council, which is IFAD's main decision-making body. Second, the Permanent Forum does make recommendations to states, to all states or to specific states, although this is not explicitly mentioned in ECOSOC Resolution 2000/22. 3. The Forum also makes recommendations to indigenous peoples and their organizations, to the private sector and corporations, and to academia. Other methods of work of the Permanent Forum include the following. The Forum holds an annual expert group meeting between sessions on a theme of particular complexity. Following such expert meetings, recommendations on the theme are adopted by the Forum at its annual session. The Forum focuses on special themes every year: indigenous children, indigenous women, land rights, development with culture and identity, traditional knowledge, urban issues, conflict and peace, the Sustainable Development Goals, climate change, indigenous languages are some of the themes selected. These discussions give rise to recommendations of the Forum, several of which have resonance throughout the UN and in states. For example, it was thanks to a strong recommendation of the Permanent Forum, carrying the voices of indigenous peoples, that the UN General Assembly decided to have the 2014 World Conference on Indigenous Peoples and proclaimed 2019 as the International Year of Indigenous Languages. The Forum also designates some of its members to conduct visits to UN agencies to promote the integration of indigenous peoples' issues. The Forum receives voluntary reports from states, the UN system, and indigenous peoples, describing their recent work on indigenous issues. It also conducts region-specific discussions every year. The forum designates several of its members to research certain topics of special significance. About 150 such topics for research have been identified by the Permanent Forum over the years, but obviously few have produced studies until now due to the lack of resources for this purpose at the United Nations. The studies conducted by members of the Permanent Forum can be found on the website of the forum, un.org/indigenous. Around 100 side events also take place during the 2 weeks of the annual session of the Permanent Forum, making the session a huge conference as well, where people share problems and good examples, they network, learn from each other, and continue to build solidarity. Advocacy during the Permanent Forum sessions is conducted in many ways, especially by Indigenous peoples. While making a statement in the plenary of the forum can be a challenge given the numerous participants who wish to speak and the long list of speakers, there are also many side events where many people speak, informal consultations that take place non-stop with states, Permanent Forum members, UN office officials and others, capacity building workshops before and during the session, awareness raising events, media events, networking, symposia, seminars, and caucusing, regional, thematic, and other, as for example, the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus, which is strong and impressive, bringing in the upcoming leadership of the Indigenous Peoples movement. It is important to note that it is common for states that do not engage with Indigenous peoples at home to engage or engage inadequately, to do so during the Permanent Forum. It is the exposure of certain issues in public at an international environment that prompts states to want to show their responsiveness, to show a better face, to show more respect to human rights principles. This is often why state-Indigenous dialogue can be brokered in a UN environment. There is dynamism that is palpable in the Permanent Forum, largely thanks to the continuing engagement and presence of the Indigenous peoples from all parts of the world and the resulting engagement of states.